Dear crypto and trading friends, today it's an update video and not a live stream. If something happens in the market and things get volatile today, I'll be happy to go live as long as it works out for me as well. But I thought I'd make a Sunday update video for you to analyze the new situation here, because not much happened on Saturday. Here, to me, this looks incredibly good, like a possible bullish reversal pattern. We have the falling wedge that we can see here. Plus this bullish divergence on the 4-hour chart, which looks really tasty, so we can say, hey, and if we look closely, maybe this helps or maybe it will turn into something now. We've had a breakout and a retest twice. This could already count as a possible sign of an upward move. What could support this? The liquidity above us. Let's take a look at how tasty this looks here. Up to a price of around $110,000, $111,000. Definitely very, very interesting to me at the moment. The higher we go, we also need to be a bit careful. I'll show you something else as well, because we don't just want to be bullish, blindly bullish, because otherwise, as happened recently, it can really cost us quite a bit of profit. But here too, take a look. Over the course of a week, it's simply up to 117,000 US dollars. The liquidation is rising. Never lie to yourself. There are two exceptions, because I should also mention, as I saw in our Telegram group, someone said that on a 12-month basis, there's a lot of liquidation at 2,000 US dollars. Yes, of course, when we have a bear market bottom and then things take off and we get a real reversal, it stays that way. But 80 to 90% of this liquidity is also at the bull market top. It's exactly the same. At some point, we just don't get that other reversal anymore. Instead, the liquidity remains and the market gets dumped. Let's hope that's not the case now, because to me, this looks super interesting to enter at these levels up here. In my case, I have to say I really caught it well. We went short here after this structural break and were able to take some great profits. I missed the second short, but some in the community took it. We tested a long, but it didn't quite work out. No big deal. I bought back Bitcoin at 107,000 US dollars, sold it again at 107,200, and then bought back in at around 103,800 US dollars. Why? Paid off. And guys, I can only tell you, go to my channel, leave a subscription for such detailed analyses. I've put out some really awesome videos for you, including 100% passive income on Out Double Ballot with proof. Check it out. I've got trading bots here. They're right here. I have to show them to you. They're running all the time. They performed incredibly well even during the dump, and honestly, I can only recommend them to everyone. But what do I want to show you? In my playlist, Learn Trading Step by Step to Pro Trader, I really have, if you go through it from bottom to top, you'll just learn so many new things. If you're not already a full-blooded trader, this will help you move forward. But it only works like this. With this tool, you're ahead of 99% of traders. Institutions use it. And what do I want to point out to you? Things like this. The large orders, the whale orders. I want to show you a bit more. I'm switching now to the 2-hour chart. Why did we buy again at 103,000 US dollars? Because we got a new order block here, and you can see that very clearly here. I have to remove the large orders here. Can you see it here? Yes, there was a new order that came in here. And that's why I positioned myself again, because I saw that a new order was placed here. And if we now look at the 30-minute or 15-minute chart, whatever the case may be, you can see that at this point in time, I know it doesn't look appealing. I know you don't want to see or hear this, but unfortunately, we have a massive cluster. Unfortunately, they're just orders. They're just orders that have been placed. Don't forget that. So it's nothing that should shock us right now. But between 97,000 and 94,000, there's quite a bit in there. We also must not forget, between 94,000 and 97,000, we have a CME gap that is still open exactly in this price range. We could reach that. I don't want to say we will, but we must not forget, we absolutely must not forget that especially on the weekly chart, we need to close at a higher price of around $100,803. And let's go through that again here. At the moment, this looks bullish to me. Maybe we'll also get some news coming in. But if that's not the case and we actually continue to go down and maintain this bearish price action here, which is definitely possible, I just want to be prepared for that. I just don't want to say, okay, I'm going massively long now and then maybe we crash. No, that's not what I mean either, that I'm saying we're going to crash now. Definitely not. But if we do crash, I want to know where a possible bottom could be. Take a look at the 0.618 Fibonacci, which I explain in my trading strategy. Even if that seems far-fetched now, just like when we were here, the 107,000 or 101,000 also seemed far-fetched. But we still discussed it again in the liquidation heat map. And if it comes to that, I'll later place my orders that I still have open here at 103,333. I'll at least move them down to around 94,000, so right where this Fibonacci entry is. It certainly doesn't hurt to have something set aside to buy in again here. I'm talking here about spot purchases, but of course I would also go long on futures because if we drop down, we'd have an opportunity for a local bottom here. The reason for this is that if you take a look, there's a lot of liquidity sitting here on a 3-month basis, which is also related to the fact that there are some orders here just waiting to be filled. We don't just see that here, and I want to show you something else as well. Let's take a look here. Orders. We had the same thing with companies. There were orders lying here. Did anyone ever think that? I certainly didn't. Back then, I didn't take that into account at all. The orders, so that we would have these orders down here at 124,000 or 126,000. No, I was only relying on a liquidation at 107,000 US dollars. Then we went up, we had a new order here, it was somewhere around here, but it got closed out, and then that was a live stream. Do you remember? I said I'm placing new orders here. I'm selling the Bitcoins I bought at $107,000, selling them just before, and then buying back in down here. Orders are here again. And now, as you can see, if I scroll down here, there's another one here. And accordingly, I want to take the opportunity with money I have on the side to buy in again here if it goes there without getting too greedy and jumping in right away. Because for me, I only see a truly bullish entry when, and I don't want to get in too early now. We are, and we must not lose sight of this, in a bearish price structure if we disregard this wick now. But we are making lower highs, lower lows, and we keep doing this over and over again. And as long as we don't break this lower high here, I don't yet see the need for a large long position. What will that look like? You know the drill, you first have to trigger a Fibonacci again. Then I say, okay, we're moving up here. We could have a price increase somewhere around here, depending on where we have liquidity on a smaller time frame. We also shouldn't forget that. I'll announce it when I set my orders, for example, up to 110 or 111,000 US dollars. That's definitely possible if we move in here, which would be roughly in this price range, where we also have a drop in volume and a breakout here, maybe a retest at 0.5, 0.6, 1.8, and then continue moving higher. That would be it for me. Here as well, I didn't go short blindly, but simply used the Fibonacci after the structure break, after the first one, and said, okay, now I want to hit my reversal levels, and then I went short. And that's exactly what I'm still paying attention to right now. Of course, you can go long with low leverage, but we just don't know how far it might still fall. Don't forget the weekly chart. We still have this massive, large bearish divergence in place. If that plays out now, it's quite possible that we'll go further down. And if that happens, I want to be prepared for it. And it's really important. Remember this low here. We really shouldn't close below it. I'm really hoping for some news today, maybe something from Trump, something positive, so that the candle closes above it. Closing below it would actually be a break in structure, a bearish one. And then I don't know how far it could go, or if we're just seeing a small bear trap. That's all for now about Bitcoin. That's how I'm positioning myself. Of course, I'll also be looking at the smaller time frames because it remains exciting even on the hourly chart. We don't just have to wait for a big reversal. Even on the hourly chart, we can look for where the next reversals might come in. Because right now, to be honest, I don't want to go long into a bearish structure. So not actively right now. Of course, you can do that, but you have to decide for yourself at your own risk whether you really want to. With Ethereum is also very, very interesting. You can see Ethereum here, by the way, for everyone who joined in on this Ethereum trade. The first one hit the stop loss. The second Ethereum trade, if we look at it here, was well into profit. You can see that as soon as it reaches a risk-reward ratio of 1 to 2, and we had 2.01, you can move the stop loss to break even. And that's what I've already done. That means this position is already secured for me. It's a long position. If everything plays out upwards now, perfect. Then I had an excellent bottom entry here and can take these profits up with me. But if we go lower, and here I am again further down, you can see my next long position here because we don't know what will happen. And with Ethereum, we haven't picked up our low here yet. That's really, really interesting. I know there's a lot going on here, but for me, it's all about this low. Let's go further down. Let's do it. I want to make this a bit clearer for you because we actually haven't picked up this low down here yet. Let me show you again. We just had to switch the chart. We also have a downtrend structure here. Now we're looking at the daily chart. We can take a closer look at the 4-hour chart again. But this one is actually almost perfect now if we draw it in terms of the setup. Of course, we could draw this in perfectly again on the 1-hour chart, but it should fit here. Take a look at this. I think this is almost perfect so that we first have to get above this level before we can say we might have a possible breakout from the bearish trend here as well. At the moment, what looks good here? Because now we have a possible double bottom here. What we see here is that we have a constant price, and we can also see that down here in the RSI. If I zoom in, at least on the 1 hour chart, it looks very much like a bullish divergence that we're building up here. So just like with Bitcoin, except here we have a constant price with a rising RSI, which could be quite bullish. And I want to prepare for that as well. But even here, I'm not entering right now. Guys, take a look. If you enter here, of course, it's associated with risk. We have to go in here. We still have lower lows and lower highs here. And as long as we don't break through this level to the upside, which would also be a breakout from this downtrend, it's not really sensible for me, or let's say not associated with reasonable risk, to go long again. Because if I go long now, or if I'm not already long but enter long now, I'd have to set my stop loss way too far down and the risk would be much too high. So do you understand what I mean? In this case, if I go long now and look for where my next support could be, which would be down here, I would have to set a stop loss at 5.46%, which is just too much for me personally. So what would my approach be here as well? And of course, you'll get an update on that too, either via live stream or on Telegram. If we have a breakout here now, we'll take another look at this in the liquidation heat map as well as in the orders, and we break through this high up here, then I know, okay, we could, for example, go up to this price. That would be the next possible rejection zone, a possible reversal, and after that, further upward movement. These are what we call those nice retests. What is a retest? It's when, for example, after a breakout from a downtrend structure, or conversely, it could also be an uptrend structure, something like this happens. If we have a break here and we say, okay, the last lower high is broken here, and then, for example, we get a rejection here, then we have the opportunity to say, okay, we have a reversal at 05, 06, 18, so I place my orders there with a reasonable stop loss. Where I have it included, you know this from my videos, and then I would take my position because then I would have a much higher chance as confirmation that we have a break of structure here and a structural break that of course takes us upward. What does the liquidation heat map look like? I also want to share that with you, of course. In my opinion, not enough has been picked up here, but we'll see what happens next. Here as well, take a look. This is something where my trading bots have performed incredibly well. So right here is exactly where my next take profit is set for the trading bots. What's in here is at 4,900 and a bit more. That's where I've set the take profit for the trading bots everywhere. The next one, it just looks tasty. You see that 3 days, super exciting. If we look at a week, in my opinion, it's still super exciting because we have a lot of liquidity above us and very little below. But we also shouldn't forget if it goes lower, if Bitcoin gives us that signal, let's also look at the 2-week chart and check that out as well so you can be prepared. And what do I mean by preparation here? That's why I still have orders placed there. So overall, it looks super interesting above us. It could really lead to a reversal, but I'm still waiting for the perfect entry when it comes to this. But here too, we have the option to take a look at the liquidation map. There we can see what's still below us on a weekly basis. There's still quite a bit down to about 3,500. Here we have 3.45 billion, and above us up to 4,400, there are about 6.5 billion. Very interesting, but also very spread out here, which could push us down a bit further. With the large orders, things get very interesting again. Because the first time, unfortunately, we missed something with Ethereum. I'll put that in again now. And if we scroll down now, you can see here, when I go in down here as well, you see a new cluster between 3.5 and 3.4. This is formed here since last time, and now it's a bit open. I'd like to go back here again as well, because here we can see it very, very clearly again with Ethereum. We still have insight into the past here because it's a bit expanded. Where did we have order clusters here? And take a look at this dump. And I can only keep telling you, use the level 2 data. Everything was picked up. And accordingly, now, because shortly after that, we have a new order cluster between 3,500 and 3,400 US dollars, where whales have positioned themselves and thousands of Ethereum are lying there. Take a look here. At 3,451, there are 3,000 Ethereum. At 3,450, there are another 3,900 or almost 4,200 Ethereum. Sorry, I have to correct myself there. And if you go through all of this, there's obviously quite a lot here. But this keeps changing live, sometimes more, sometimes a bit less. But if we do dump, I believe a lot of new orders will come in here. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Where would that be on the long-term chart if we go in? Long-term job around 3,500 to 3,400 if I switch back to the daily chart, which unfortunately I set too late last time. That would be right here. My first orders that I have in here are at 3,435, and also here if we look inside the 0.5 Fibonacci level. That means in this area I have placed orders, and up here I would go long again as well. If we just zoom out and take a look at this, you can see here where my long orders are. I know it's a bit confusing because there's a lot in there, but these are my new long orders that I've placed. 3,400 is simply for safety because I say I want to. Let's see if we get into this area, should we go down there. Overall though, I see us more bullish because we also have the liquidation hitman, and that's why I say again, model 3 comes into play. I'm looking at this now, we have 4 minutes left. These are my current preparations that I'm making. But of course I also adjust my preparations continuously because here you can see there's not much left below us. The only thing we've mentioned is that there's still something at 3 months. If we then switch to 1 month, you can simply see that we still have the last liquidations here, but the lower we go in terms of time frame, the more interesting things get up above. And that's what we should keep an eye on. When will the day come, or when is the moment for us to say, we'll grab the liquidity that's above us? From 2 weeks on, it hasn't looked all that interesting because we want things that are brightly lit. But, and we see it again here, that's of course 4,300 to 4,400. Super interesting. We can see that since today there's been massive shorting, a lot of new liquidity, but this is that tasty area that I'm actually speculating on now with the possible bullish divergence. Not going in immediately, but if we get a reversal, and I'll show you in a moment what my strategy would be then. I don't want to go in recklessly. Better to take one trade less than to lose one too many. But you can see that. The liquidation heat map never lies. I keep telling you this, and I've included it here for you as well. A complete tutorial on this topic. But that's just super interesting. And we can also see down here, it's still interesting to watch where liquidity is, where we're heading, and then we'll see exactly what happens. But for now, we should simply pay attention to the possible orders we've seen here. If you position yourself here, in my opinion, not financial advice, it's not wrong at least to try to catch it if we go lower. If we do go lower, I'll gladly take it. If we don't go lower, that's not a problem either, because what's my approach? Let's go back to my Ethereum chart for that. We'll go further back into this area here. I don't want to act unless we see something bullish, but look, Ethereum is breaking out right now. It looks very exciting. And now it gets interesting for me. As I mentioned to you before, I want to see where I could enter into my reversal. It's Sunday, we don't really have any orders filled yet, the institutional players aren't involved yet. But where could I now plan my next entry so that I don't get in too early? We've had similar situations before during the crash. Here's a small example. I actually prepared this earlier. We had a very, very strong correction here. We also had a small breakout here. Here too, you can see we had a bullish divergence. That one just played out much more nicely. And we have a similar scenario, namely right now. And here we have the bullish divergence, which then played out. Long consolidation, breakout. And what did we have after this breakout? And that's exactly what I'm getting at. After we broke these lows here, you can simply apply the Fibonacci and then say, okay, I take a 0.5 entry, and then at the first break, I do not even have to take my take profit here, but can again say at the very first break, okay, where is my next possible price target? And as we can see, look at what happened here. We actually hit this price target almost perfectly. That's how it was with the 1.414 price target. If we take this out now 1 hour, then you'll see what I mean on the 4-hour chart. You can actually see there was our nice breakout, correction came in here, formed a top and then corrected back down again. Here too, I sold a bit of Ethereum again and took some out of my position. But I'd like to play out something similar here as we did before, because we can see we're correcting sharply again, and I don't want to get caught in such fake outs if we do end up going further down. Maybe we're just liquidating a lot right now. I just showed you, where did we have that? We have strong liquidity lying here. Maybe that's just being fished briefly now. We'll see how things develop from here. But that's my approach. So stay up to date. Definitely make use of all these tools I've shown you so that we don't enter too early, so we get perfect entries and align ourselves with the whales and the big players where possible positions are involved. I know this video was longer than planned, but I hope it was helpful for you. At the moment, there's no possible new entry for me. We've already had a round of entries, which was very good, but a truly valid entry for a nice price structure that I can see now on the 1 hour instead of the 4-hour chart. I just don't see that at the moment. Leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and maybe see you at the next live session today. Otherwise, we'll see each other again tomorrow at the latest in a new live stream.